Hey, everybody, this is John. With me, as always, is Matt.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
What in the hell was that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you're just making stuff up. I don't know why he's laughing now. But, anyways, guys, so in this episode, we're going to be talking about one of our, I wouldn't say like favorite video games, but definitely one of our personal games that we've actually, when we were
It's an
co-work-
old school.
Yeah, that's an old school
Yeah.
game, but it was when we were coworkers back in the day. We actually used to play this. I think we did. Yeah, we did do co-op, didn't we? I think. Or did we not?
No.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That was probably my
If
brother.
we
and
did
I.
co-op, we would have had to play at the same place.
Oh right, because old school way of thinking. You had to be in the same room, the same place. Instead of like this
Split
online,
screen.
split screen. Local play. Wow, that's a concept. Anyways, but it's Destroy All Humans and Destroy All Humans 2. So it's a very interesting series of games. We'll go into more about what the games are really about. But if you've ever played them, they're very they're very spoofy. It's a funny game to play, but
Very interesting.
it's it's very interesting. I mean, you're playing as a guy named Crypto, and you're basically, as hence the title, Destroy All Humans. That's kind of like what you're doing. That's
Yeah,
pretty much the basis of the game. But again, we'll talk about that more in a minute. But we have some very very interesting news we want to share with you. Coming to you live from GFTM Studios.
So, John, we got a writer strike, huh?
Matt, when you mentioned that to me earlier, I had no idea that this is actually a real thing.
Oh, it's a real thing.
And, this is a topic that I am very surprised that as a today's society, it's pretty sad that we're really getting into these kind of issues. I understand that our economy as a whole, when it comes to inflation and in our gross incomes and everything else, is it's hard as hell to live in our society as a whole right now. And I get where some of these guys are coming from, but the other piece to this, I really don't understand.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
It
first,
really makes a lot. I mean, not to cut you off, but it really sucks on one end because as geeks and as people who are really, really expecting new movies, new TV shows, new seasons of, shows that we enjoy, well, guess what? You are going to have to wait. And that's the part that sucks about the writer strike. And the longer that it goes on, the longer these projects are just going to sit somewhere in limbo.
just like the movie Blade, because we've all been waiting to see that if you're a huge Marvel fan. But I'm going to get into this. So, the reason why these guys are actually striking, which Matt and I actually briefly talked about, which we have our own opinions on this, but the first reason of why they were actually striking is because, again, like I just mentioned about the whole fact that a lot of the writers' averages, like for their incomes rise, they're it's not as it was saying like 10, let's say about a decade ago. So the actual salary of some of these writers, of course it's not, let's say, up to standard par for like living in general, right? So
I mean, whose salary is at this point?
I mean, but the way I look at this too is I would assume that a writer is making a hell of a lot more than most of the average Americans right now as a whole.
I would. I mean, in Hollywood, I would honestly hope so.
Because if they don't, then there's
If I'm a writer on, working for Disney on the Blade movie, I would be hoping I would be making a lot more than, the average Joe.
I mean, so I would say probably what, like 30, 40 is probably the.
I would hope more than that.
No, I'm just saying like in general as like an average,
Yeah.
let's say income, right?
Yeah,
So, let's say these guys are making 70, 80, right? No offense. If you're making 70, $80,000, I would hope that,
and I'm sure they must have residuals for, when the stuff that they're writing for, like TV shows, air. They must have royalties or residuals that come in, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and they're saying that part of the residuals is it's not as much as it was, let's say, 10 years ago,
Oh,
which oh my
I'm
god, I
so
know, God
sorry.
forbid.
I'm so
Um,
sorry your residual income isn't up to par.
no, it's called life. I'm sorry. Not sorry, but the other interesting part to this is that the writers, and this is literally quote from this, is writers also wanted artificial intelligence such as Chat GPT, which I understand is a newer app or technology that they came out with recently,
Yeah.
to be only used as a tool that can help research or facilitate script ideas and not be used as tools to replace them. Now, I know when you and I talked about this, the first thought we came into our mind, because you know what? Go ahead, Matt. What was the first thought?
Well, the first thought I had was, so do they not do their own jobs when they're writing? I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
like they don't want to be replaced, but they want to use AI to help them come up with their own ideas. Like, honestly, for like, I mean, we're using Blade because Blade is one of those movies that initially was stopped because it had a crappy script. So they replaced the writer, and now it's on hold because there's a strike. And this, most movies don't have just one writer. There's multiple.
Yeah, let's
So
let's say there's 10.
if there's 10 writers, do they really need an AI to create ideas? I mean, can 10 people not come up with an idea for a script?
Well, it's like the age old question. How many people does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I mean, none, obviously, because they need an AI.
I mean, because clearly they need to understand that they just can't simply do their job.
So they need an AI to do their job, but they don't want to be replaced by an AI.
So it sounds like they're a bunch of lazy sons of guns, huh?
But yet, let's go on strike because we want to make more money. So you can use an AI to do your job for you? That doesn't sound like I should be giving you more money. It sounds like I should be giving the guys that make ChatGPT more money
That's what
for
it sounds
doing
like.
your job. And perhaps I should be using them to replace you, exactly what you're saying.
I
Because
mean, it's
why would I, and this is like an honest question. As a if I get hired as a writer for a TV show, for a movie, it's because one, I have the talent, I have the skills, and I have the imagination to come up with stuff for that show or that movie, whatever it is. If I start going to an AI and go, give me ideas my for the next episode of this TV show. The AI is going to give me a whole list of ideas, not my own, but mind you, this is an AI giving me ideas. Now I can go back in and go, please elaborate on this idea for this TV show theme. More ideas. So now the AI is basically writing the ideas for me, and all I'm doing is putting words in between these ideas. So they're not my ideas. All I'm doing is writing my own things for these ideas. I didn't come up with it. I shouldn't make more money for that.
it almost sounds like you and I need to like use this app, and then like maybe we should ask somebody who is a writer and see which one actually comes up with better ideas, or if let's see how quick they can come up with ideas versus the other. Because if we're doing a podcast, for example, and if we needed more ideas, I mean, it sounds like we just need to use this app and actually start using that instead too.
You know what's funny though? I've said for a long time with certain things, like when I've watched a movie, I in the last episode, like I said in that one, I'm watching Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles again. I watched it before, and for the life of me, the one thing that I take away from that show, and I've taken away from a lot of shows, like the character of John Connor. I said the same thing about Clark Kent from Smallville.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh yeah.
Like Why can't they write John Connor the correct way? Why does he always have to be this sissy little boy? Like in everything that, like Terminator 2, like all the rest of the Terminator, like when they show him as a young kid, and I know he's not the John Connor from the future. I've always said for a long time, like I could write a better script in my sleep. So as a writer, if I'm using AI, like essentially, I feel like I'd be cheating.
Well, it almost sounds like you should make it a challenge. Like you create a script for them and see if they actually will use your script for like movies like, Terminator or, you know, I don't know, let's say Marvel movies or something like that. Like if we had a challenge where, let's say we could have written a script better for the Eternals. Like that movie in itself, like that needed a better script.
Certainly,
In
certainly.
certain aspects,
I
but
I think we're probably just at a time where we just need somebody just needs to create Skynet. I think. I think we're just at that point where we maybe just need to create Skynet and celebrate Judgment Day. I think we're John. I think we're probably just close to that point right now.
so what you're saying is you're going to be the creator of Skynet? Is that what you're going to say?
Somebody needs to.
I
I,
think
I don't know if I know enough about AI to create that, but like
yeah.
somebody needs to do that so we can just move on with Judgment Day and
It also kind of reminds me of like, you remember Wally, right? Where like you see like these fat lazy humans and like, the robots are like, helping them out, and then they realize that they're all dead because they're overweight and they have diabetes and stuff. It's like it's about to turn into that, and the fact that we're going to be using AI to create a world for ourselves and make it so much better. But then again, if you look at the Terminator and the Matrix, why do you want to live in a world like that? Because now they're going to basically eradicate the human race and
I
eliminate
honestly
everything.
I don't know if you've ever seen Idiocracy.
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've actually seen it. No.
John, you need to go see it. And if you guys seen it, I honestly think that probably we're headed that way.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that the about the guy that he's like? I want to say like he like wakes up in the future, but it's like all these like idiot people.
Yes.
Oh, and like
Yes.
it's like the puzzle, like he like tries to put in the square, the triangle, the circle. He puts it in correctly, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's so smart."
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Everybody
Yeah.
thinks he's really smart, and yeah, everybody's kind of an idiot. Yeah. And they water the plants with like a
Mountain, yeah,
Gatorade.
like
Yeah.
Mountain Dew
Yeah.
or something weird. Yeah,
Because it has electrolytes, John.
right. That's right. That's right. I remember that. But not to dive into more of this, but I just think that the writers need to realize that if you're already getting paid a certain amount, then realize that you should be grateful for what you have and not demand like let's say 150,000, 200,000 for whatever writing you're doing. Especially if let's say there's 10 people on, let's say for the script of Blade. No offense, I'm not paying somebody 150,000, 200,000 for writing a script.
I can see that, like, and to end it here, I can see like certain demands. Yes, like should they make more money? Absolutely. Should things be fair? Yes.
Well, then make it for everyone, not just
This
them.
this whole thing with the AI, writers should not be using AI.
No.
They should not be, because AI should not be used by professional writers, authors, or anybody
Who do this for a living?
who do this for a living, period. Now, if I wanted to use it to write an essay,
Sure.
sure, it could give me an idea, but I'm not going to go to ChatGPT and go, can you write an essay for this topic? And then I get the whole thing and I go, here's my paper. No, I'm going to take that and I'm going to look up and research and make sure that what it gave me is real information.
Right, and not plagiarized or anything. Yeah.
Right. Because now when you go to submit things from AI, there's actual checkers that tell them that what you're submitting is from an AI.
Right. So, I mean, there's always ways around it, but I mean,
There are ways around it, but I still have the full belief that like if you're getting paid to be a writer, write. Don't
Absolutely.
use an AI to cheat. Like actually write. And if you don't have the imagination,
Then don't be a writer.
then don't be a writer. If you're working on a Blade movie
Don't
and
be a
you don't
writer.
have the imagination to write anything regarding Blade,
Don't
you
be a
have
writer.
no reason to be in that room.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, just don't be a writer. Just,
You can be a writer, but like you shouldn't be in the room.
I agree.
If I'm sitting in the room going, "Hey guys, what do you have for an idea?"
Uh,
Um, vampires.
uh,
Yeah, what else?
um, less
Um,
fight scenes.
vampires.
Vampire. Actually, vampires
Be a writer.
or vampires.
That's it. Be
No.
a writer. Don't use AI. Don't.
So I'm gonna mention this real quick because I just saw this. So it's a picture, and I'm gonna show you, man, in a second. But literally, it's a guy holding a sign, and it says "Writers Guild on strike. AI is not taking your dumb notes." And here's the picture. Like, I mean, I understand you guys can't see it, but what I'm showing Matt is this guy looks really stupid, and
Yeah,
he's just
yeah.
showing a stupid sign, and I'm like, that's how stupid I feel like in this regard, this whole thing is just ridiculous. But anyways, Matt,
Yeah.
let's actually get into this topic.
Let's get into Destroy All Humans. So this game actually came out in 2005, and it was on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. And the first game actually was single player, had no multiplayer whatsoever.
So no local play, no nothing like that
Yeah.
whatsoever.
It was open world style gameplay, but it was mission based. So you couldn't just travel wherever you wanted. You could only travel within the mission parameter area. Um,
Which again, which really sucked because you're literally just like you're in a mission and you only have like I don't know, like let's say 100 feet around you, and it's like okay, well that sucks because I
yeah.
kind of want to go further, but whatever.
The game was made initially by Pandemic Studios, which is actually kind of funny, but because it's
Well, no, yeah, because
yeah,
like the pandemic. Yeah, I
yeah.
know what you're saying.
Um, well, and it's destroy all humans. It's
Yeah,
about
pandemic.
aliens. It's pandemics. It makes it funnier.
Okay, but you were describing it didn't really make it funnier, but I get what you're saying though.
Yeah. But Pandemic Studios later was acquired by Electronic Arts,
Or EA
EA.
Sports. It's in the
Um,
game. Sorry. Go ahead.
so Matt Harding, who created the game, he first conceived it um, after Microsoft rejected a more family-friendly game. Um, the concept initially was called Oddballs,
Okay.
where basically you kill everybody. Um,
It's
I don't know how that's family
I
friendly.
don't think that's really friendly at all. I don't
I,
even know where this guy came up with this
I
idea.
I don't know how that's family friendly, but like he jokingly suggested, a game like I want to create a game where you kill everybody, and he suggested a title, Destroy All Humans. And he was a science fiction fan, and he thought of using the concept as using an alien as the premise for doing just mindless destruction, which makes sense, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, if you look at like some of the other movies, like was it like Invade or Martians Invade or like some of the '90s movies? It's kind of like that same
Yeah.
kind of concept, but
So the game takes place mostly on Earth, where Furon Cryptosporidium, also known as Crypto in the game, is tasked by his superiors to gather Furon DNA that's locked inside human brain stems to basically save his race from cloning themselves into extinction. Um, what's happening with the Furons is they began using advanced biotechnology and cloning themselves. And each Furon were basically virtually immortal memories, personalities, and tech technology being transferred to each clone. As the clones kept progressing, they kept getting more and more errors, and thus getting sent to Earth. They found humans had Furon DNA in their brainstems, which is why they end up on Earth. Long story short.
Wow.
Yeah,
That was a pretty long story short, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so the previous crypto, which is Crypto 136, disappears in 1947. Orthopox, which is the head Furon, sends 137 to Earth in 1959 to harvest brain stems. And in order to basically keep their species from going extinct, like I said. Um, but then once he's on Earth and you start, kind of walking around and doing this, you actually experience a government agency, sort of like Men in Black, but they're actually called Majestic. Um, and you have to kind of defeat this government organization, which is the gist of the game in a nutshell.
Right. And I mean, when you're looking at the game itself, I mean, when you're looking at the graphics and you're looking at, you know, the different, I would say, like, aspects of the game, I mean, it's very, I'm just trying to think of the best word to say. I think it's more
Satire.
satire, funny, but also
It's
kind of
like
like,
goofy. It's like goofy, oddball satire. Like,
yeah, it's all these like different things. Like when if you really want to play a numb mind or a numb minding game, like that's a game where you could just sit there for hours and just do whatever you want and really just.
the one thing I can say though is Crypto's voice in the game is so iconic. I don't know who does it, but it's so iconic.
Well, while you're talking about this, I'm gonna look up who actually did
Um,
it.
but I'll tell you a little bit about the Furons. The Furons are aliens. They have mouths that are full of sharp teeth. They are highly advanced, and they use their technology for harsh. I don't know what I'm saying there, but they use their technology for harsh, unsympathetic science and vicious war. Um, Unregulated atomic weaponry caused a fatal mutation in the Furon race where they could no longer reproduce due to their lack of genitalia.
Lovely.
Isn't it though? So that's why they began cloning themselves because they could no longer reproduce. Um, so cloning became their way to kind of repopulate their world. Um, each new clone had errors that appeared in the genetic material, leading to unpredictable results. So without an infusion of uncorrupted Furon DNA, eventually these errors would clone them into possible extinction. So that's kind of where the game kind of leads on. And when, John kind of goes into some of the weapons that you use to harvest said, Furon DNA, um, it gets really interesting because the the brain actually pops out of the humans, um, and one particular weapon makes the brain pop out of one particular spot.
Would it be his butthole?
That would be correct, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean anal probing? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that's what you're almost trying to not say, but you're kind of going around it. But
I
anyways,
was waiting for you to kind of go over the weapons
oh,
before we did that,
sorry, but yeah, sorry. I was looking up the person that did
but
it.
yes, when you're actually collecting the Furon DNA, you're actually collecting the brains Like I guess they actually pop out of the humans
Right,
in
but
the game.
well, it's the actual brain with the stem, so it's the brain
Right.
stem as well. Um, Little side note. So I did look up the actor. His name is J. Grant Elbrecht.
Never heard of them.
Never have I, but apparently he's also been in TV shows like Oswald, like the kids show.
Oh,
Apparently he was in Hellboy, Blood and Iron, Dante's Inferno. Apparently he was also in Happy Feet, which I was surprised. But
oh.
anyways, so
But anyway, the voice for him is very, very like iconic. It's very like you have to like just YouTube it because it's very like it's very iconic and
so going into the weapons, right? So what Matt was saying about the anal probe, right? It basically you shoot it basically the brain comes out of the butthole. It's a whole thing. It is kind of funny when you
so
watch it.
so you're not gonna read that at all.
I What do you mean I'm not going to read that at all?
You're not gonna read that description at all, John.
Fine. Emits a rod that goes up the victim's rectum and uproots a DNA enriched brain. Okay, was that what you wanted me to say,
I
Matt?
did. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Well, I just wanted to put it in layman's terms, okay? But anyways, so the other really the most iconic weapon that he does have is called the Zap-O-Matic. It's a gun that emits an electric shock.
I like that one.
Well, it's basically a cattle prod, but with
Yes. Yes.
with the actual gun piece.
And I like when you upgrade it, it like connects to other people, so you can actually shock multiple people at the same time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great weapon at first because it allows you to just basically if you need to like run away and you just zap them and then you start running in the other direction at that point.
Until you get the next one that you read.
Yes. So the next one is the disintegrator ray. So again, as it pretty much says it says the target's flesh and organs into turns into ashes and renders only a charred skeleton. So yes, I mean that one is a very, of course, powerful weapon, and I'm pretty sure that's like later on in the game where you don't get it at first. I think it's
You
more.
don't get it at first, but you do get it pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
You
I'm,
do have limited ammo on it though, but
right. I mean, it's a nice weapon if you need. It's more of a backup, right? It's something you can do use really quick, and then you're like, okay, I'll go on to my next one.
and the skeleton actually stays standing for like a couple seconds and then falls.
Oh, right.
So it is. This is one of those goofy oddball things, like when you actually shoot him, like you see the ashes and the skeleton just kind of stands there, and then the skeleton turns to. It's like it's so goofy.
I mean, and it's pretty much like your cartoon kind of thing. It's just like that,
Yeah.
like, we're falling. Okay, now we're gonna fall. And then the last weapon really is the ion detonator. So it's basically a grenade launcher, and when he also has a jetpack that's also upgradable, it actually helps him. Oh, just kidding. He does have a jetpack, and it does allow him to kind of fly around the city and do all that. Um, but the other big thing that you can do in this game, which is really nice, especially in the second one, once we get into that, is his flying saucer. So it's your typical Martian
Oh yeah,
kind of
this is
saucer.
it's
You know,
round and yeah,
it's pretty much like if you were to watch like your old like
1940s,
yeah, like
1920s.
yeah, like well, I would
Yeah.
say more like 1950s if I'm taking a guess, but like watching like the concept of that, it's literally the same thing. So like for example, a death ray, right? So a heat ray comes out of the weapons, firing system, and it just basically disintegrates everything in its path. It's honestly probably one of the most powerful weapons on that ship. Um,
I like the next one.
the Adducto beam. So it's a tractor beam, basically, but it allows you to like pick objects up. It allows you to pick up humans, animals, whatever. It allows you to basically, if you hold it and if you start swinging back and forth, you can fling them as far as you want. So it gives you that nice ability to be like, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to throw you across the
And
map.
I mean, you can pick up cars, you can pick up people, and yeah, you can like basically swing them in circles and
Yeah, you can do really whatever you want. I mean,
right.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's the beauty of like it's like GTA. You could just do whatever the heck you want in that game. Um, and then the next one is the quantum deconstructor. Sorry. So this one, yeah. So basically, it launches radioactive bombs that utterly destroy everything in its radius. So again, imagine having like a nuclear bomb and then just dropping it in like in that vicinity. It's just going to blow everything up around it. Um, and then a sonic boom. Yeah, so a bomb that can explode on contact and shock the blast radius like a tremor. So it's like having a mini earthquake at your disposal. Basically, is really what that's going to be.
Yeah. So some of the abilities, um, obviously the second game has a lot more. Um, we're somewhat limited in the first game. Um, the Hollow Bob, which is probably your most used in this game. Your Hollow Bob gives you a hologram image of a human, and you have kind of a limited use of it. Um,
It's kind of stupid because it's one of those ones that really don't make any sense. Because if you look at the second game, when the ability to basically like get into someone else's body and allows you to move as that person. This one's just like, okay, it's just hanging out, it's doing its thing, and then you just like kind of walk away, and it's not a big deal. So it's just like a random thing you can do, and then it's like, okay, what's the point of
well,
that?
in this game too, like you need something that's called psi energy, which is called concentration in the game. So when you have your hollow bob and you're moving around, you need to do um, basically what is essentially reading the thoughts of other humans or animals to build up your concentration so that your hollow bob doesn't expire.
Y-
So
Yeah,
when your holobob expires, then you turn back into crypto, and then everybody starts freaking out. The cops come and they start shooting at you,
it.
and it just becomes nonsense after that.
I mean, it almost reminds me of like you take like GTA in that same aspect, and like you start blowing stuff up, and it's like all of a sudden you get like level 5 stars, and then like that's literally what happens in 5 seconds. That all these cops come out of nowhere, and you're
Yeah.
just like, what did I even do? I'm just literally this little tiny like Martian that's not
Yeah.
doing anything.
So you also have psychokinesis, or they call it PK in the game, which obviously, if you know what psychokinesis is, it allows you to pick things up and move them around with your mind. Um, you
So I
can
pick things up and I put them down, kind of a thing.
basically, I mean, you can toss things and um, extract. This one is what's useful for if you're not doing the anal probe gun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to read that description again?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
If you're not using that gun and you're using a different weapon, um, extract. When you walk up to a human, you can do the extract, and it actually physically extracts the brain and the stem from the humans.
But that one, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, that one requires a lot of concentration.
Right, you have to constantly like tap
Yeah, to
the
be able
button.
to like get it out. Where the gun is just
But
quick and
a
easy.
lot of these do too. For the reading the thoughts, you have to tap.
Right.
For the extract, you need to do that. And then the last one for the abilities is follow. Um, you can't really do this with everybody. I think this one was more mission based when I recently played.
So, well, that's the reason why in the first game versus the second, you'll notice a big difference. But yeah, I think with the follow, it's helpful because, like, if you need somebody, like, if it's an important person, you need them to come with you, then you can tell them, come here.
Yeah, and this one was like you needed like the mayor, and you needed like certain people to come back to the ship so that you can mimic them.
Right. And use their DNA, really.
So you would have, you would walk up to them and you would do follow, and then they would follow you back to the ship, and then you would do your hollow bob, and you would be them. So
Yeah.
that's it for the abilities. I mean, with the first game, like you don't really have a whole lot of weapons or abilities. I mean, there's a lot as far as the first game.
Well, and the thing is you'll notice that the second game is actually more iconic and more fun to play because you can actually do co-op. This is one of the very first games I've actually seen where they did like a co-op,
Yes. Yeah.
based in that sense because there wasn't that many games at the time where you could do the co-op sense of ability depending on what kind of games you had. But the reason why I'm going to say this too is that with the first game, like I remember playing a little bit of it, but it wasn't like to me it wasn't as memorable. Where in the second game when we're going to talk about it, there's a lot more to do. There's a lot more abilities. There's a lot more stuff going on. The
Right.
story is actually more entertaining than the first one. I thought.
It's more entertaining. I mean, I think both games though, the second game definitely more so than the first. They walk that fine line
Oh, I
of
mean,
the second game definitely
completely crosses the line.
almost crosses over, but not quite crosses over, but almost crosses over. The first game like looks at the line and goes, eh, just kind of touches it, and then no, we don't want to go that far. But the
Right.
second game is like, there's the line, we're gonna go one step beyond it, and then come back. Um, but it does kind of cross that line. But it is, I mean, it's a goofy, oddball kind of satire type of game. But it is one of those games like if you just want to play it and you don't even do any of the missions and you just get in the saucer and you just destroy buildings.
I mean, that's literally the premise. I mean, like even in both games. I mean, the first one, yes, you can.
You actually have those challenges where you have to you have 3 minutes or a certain amount of time to destroy
A certain area
like
or whatever.
15 buildings or however do have certain amount of points of damage in that certain area. And the first game and the second game, there are different cities and towns that you're in, so you're not just in that one city or town, you're in different places.
Right. I mean, technically in the second game, well, we're gonna mention it in a second, but like the second one, you actually get to go to different aspects around the world. So like you got to go to London, you get to go to like San Francisco. I'm pretty sure you go to Russia and a couple. I think there's one other spot, but it allows you to kind of see what it was like back um in the second game is more in the '60s, but you know this one being in like 1959, so literally like a year before or whatever. Um, Actually, no, I think there's a 10-year gap. My bad. So I think it's like right at the end of 19 or the end of the 50s for the first game, but then like the second game is like kind of like the mid to late. Let's say mid to late 60s is what that game is actually based in. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the second game since I know we're gonna have a lot more to talk about in that one than the first one. Clearly,
Yeah, so the second game was again PS2 and Xbox. Open world style, still mission based, but this one was more open world style where um
actually, not to interrupt, which did you play it on the PlayStation or the Xbox at the time?
Xbox.
Because I think,
I never had a PS2.
oh well, never mind, I did. No, I'm pretty sure I played both games. Actually, I'm pretty sure I probably would have played it on the PlayStation more than I did on the Xbox. But I was just asking. I just was curious if you played it on, one of the other consoles or not. But
No, I never had a PS2.
well,
I was
sucks to be
always an
you.
Xbox guy until my PS4.
Oh well, I wonder who gave you that. Like I've always said.
Whatever gave me that idea.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was open world style gameplay. It was still mission based, but if you were in, Los Angeles, you were in Los Angeles. If you were in Russia, you were in that area of Russia. Like
Well, okay.
you couldn't just go from like Russia to LA to different places. Like you were
Well,
in that one vicinity.
technically, you weren't in LA. You were in San Francisco at the time.
Well, whatever. I mean, if you were in San Francisco, you would be in San Francisco. You wouldn't be able to go, from San Francisco back to Russia, back to San
No,
Francisco.
you'd have to like teleport basically is what or fly, from one area to the other, which is basically a cutscene. That's all it does.
But, again, this was made by Pandemic Studios. Um, in this game, Crypto is hunting for revenge after the KGB tried to assassinate him and successfully destroy the mothership and his mission officer Orthopox 13, officially named Pox in the game. Um, but they um so 10 I guess it's 10 years. So in the game it's I believe 1969.
Yeah.
Um Crypto defeated Majestic, basically replaces the US government. Actually becomes the president. Um Pox died after a Soviet nuclear missile destroyed the mothership. Pox actually downloads his consciousness into a holographic projection. Um, so you still kind of see him in the game as a projection.
But I mean, the beauty of that though is like you get to see him all the time. It wasn't just like if you saw him on the ship or whatever. Like
Yeah,
you get to see him like literally follow you, and it was actually kind of at some point it actually kind of got annoying because he would show up out of nowhere, and you're just like, dude, I'm trying to do something. Like, leave me the hell alone. Like, I need you to like
yeah.
go the other way.
So the first game it was Crypto 137, and in this game, Crypto 137 dies of unknown causes, and Crypto 138, who is actually a clone with pure Furon DNA harvested from human brains, has taken the place as the president. He is actually the first Furon in a millennia to possess genitalia, as his pure DNA has not been corrupted by radiation.
Wow.
Wow. So, when the KGB destroy the mothership and Pox, Crypto must find a way to stop them from destroying what he's worked so hard to achieve. Along the way, he's supported by Natalia, a rogue KGB agent who he constantly hits on, who also wants nothing to do with him.
It's actually kind of funny when you watch it, but
He also comes across the Blisk, the dreaded enemy that the Furons thought they defeated in the Martian War. So that's the gist of what the game is about. John, if you want to go over the innumerable amount of weapons.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin. A lot of them are the same. I mean,
Well, the first three at least are the same.
yeah, the first three are the same: the Zapomatic, the disintegrator ray, the ion detonator. Right. So the ion detonator being the grenade launcher, the disintegrator ray, as we talked about, shooting the weapon, and then they turn into ash, and then of course the skeleton's sitting right there. So it's same thing. And then the anal probe, yes, it's still a thing again. So
Anal
I'm
probe,
not
yeah.
I'm not gonna read the
You
description
want to
for it.
read that description, John?
No, I'm good. I think we all understand. So, and then of course the Zapomatic is the first gun you get in the game. I know that. But the newer weapons that I do remember is, yeah, the dislocator. So the shoots, oh yeah, shoots levitating purple discs that take targets with them. So if I'm not mistaken, if like you shot that disc at somebody, it would send them flying across the map, and they would just like keep flying in like circles. They would just go all different directions. It was
Yeah.
actually kind of funny. It'd be like taking the ability of like the tractor beam and then just like intensifying it, and then just
Yeah,
like
if you hit them, they would fling straight. Someone would fling straight up, and they would fly all around. Yeah,
I mean,
it was quite
we
funny.
could describe it, but I can tell you if you actually saw it in action, it actually is kind of funny. It just depends on like the gameplay or the style that you like to play. Um, and then meteor strike. So this one, yeah, fires up to 3 meteors at the crosshair. So it's like taking like the mother of all bombs and just like, you know what, we're just gonna hit you with a meteor. No big deal. I mean, yeah, it's a sight, that's for sure. This next one, I don't remember this one. Gastro, the mothership's former janitor, who shoots at nearby enemies before self-destructing. I don't even remember that one.
These were all listed, so
Oh, okay. I don't.
I
That one
don't
I
I
don't
don't
remember.
remember.
That one I don't remember. The burrow beast shoots out the lure for a giant space worm to crawl around, eating nearby humans. That one I don't remember. That is what I do not remember at
I
all.
don't remember that one either.
The anti gravity field, yes, basically shoots a small point of high gravity, pulling anything nearby, including humans, into it before exploding. So basically, it'd be like taking a black hole and shooting it into the ground, and they're just
Yeah.
like, get sucked in, and they instantly die. Basically, is the best way to put it. Yes, the jetpack in this
I
game,
like the jetpack in this game.
because you're right. Now, if you upgrade it more and more, it does go longer and everything else. But you can go higher and longer, further distances. So it was nice because if you're running away, that's your best friend, especially if you're not near the ship. Um, Now with the flying saucer, Some of them are the same. There's, I think, actually, uh, I think there's two. There's two new ones because the death ray is the same. I don't
Well,
really need to
the
go into
death
that.
ray is actually, I think, stronger in the second game.
Yeah, because yeah, it says right here the weapon must cool down when used continuously. The saucer starts with this weapon. Yes, that's I know that's the first one you get. The Adducto beam again. This one is actually more funnier in this game because the fact that you get to go around the whole world and you can pick up cars, you can pick up humans and just fling them across the map, and it's
Well, and this one too, you can actually suck up humans into your ship.
right. I think it's more for health. I think that's what
It
mostly what it
actually
was.
upgrades the abilities
What is? Oh, and I think if you get
because you use it for the gene blender.
right, and I think if you get like certain like let's say like certain amount of British people, a certain amount of like the San Franciscans or whatever, and then the
Yeah, you get
Russians.
like two males, a female, like
Yeah, like different things.
soldier, like yeah,
But it gives you it's like certain abilities within that region that you get too. Um, drain. So drains energy from vehicles to replenish the sausage shield. So yep. So that one's a new one, but that one does help, especially when you're going against like tanks and different things that come at you.
yeah.
Anti gravity fields again. So same thing, but in this case, you're doing it in a flying saucer. So you're just like, oh, okay, boop. All right, have fun with that, and you could just basically run away after doing that. Um, yeah, quantum deconstructor, and then the sonic boom. Um, again, two similar things from before. They were okay. I mean, they're, you know,
What
the
was
same.
super helpful with this one is cloak.
Well, yes, that's what I was
Yeah,
just about to get into that.
I
But
know I
yes,
beat you to
cloak.
it.
Cloak is nice because it gives you the ability to, if you, start, coming into the city and you wanted to recon, like that's the perfect way. But the problem is once it's out, you're kind of screwed. Like you're just kind of like flying around, and you're like, well, hopefully there's not going to be too many people around
Yeah, and
because
this one too, like when your cloak runs out and you've been just wanton destruction, unlike the first game, like where you might get like a tank or you know, obviously like for the time frame, they didn't have vehicles that had, you know, machine gun cannons on them.
no, no,
But in the second game, you don't just get one singular tank.
you get
They
a multitude,
they bring like five, sometimes six at a time.
and they just start keep shooting at you until basically you either run away or you destroy everything around you.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to mention, which I do remember this and actually is very helpful, is the fact that you were allowed to call upon your saucer because if I'm not mistaken, in the first game, you actually had to know where you
You
put
had
your
to go to
saucer,
where your saucer was, yeah.
which is a pain in the butt. Where this one, you could just like, hang out in like a random parking lot or whatever, and you can call it, like, oh, hey, look, it flies in and you can go into it and it's no problem, which, it's kind of stupid that the first game didn't even allow that ability. Like it literally had to take another game just so that you can call upon your saucer no matter where you are. But I think because of the whole mission based versus like the real open world concept, because like even
Yeah.
in this game, you don't have to follow the missions in order. You can just do whatever you want, and then you can go into some of the missions, and then do whatever you want really right after that. But go ahead, since I know the abilities are definitely more interesting in this one.
Yeah, so the abilities are much more interesting. So I mean, you do have the same basic ones, like you have extract, which is the same. You have the psychokinesis or PK. But a lot of the new ones, you don't have the hollow bob. This one you actually have what's called body snatch, and it allows crypto to take over the body of another person. Um, once you are in a body, you have a energy bar from that host that steadily decreases. Once it reaches zero, crypto is basically expelled and the host is killed.
So, like, and I know, like, you're gonna mention this, but I like the little note that you wrote here. It's like talking about like the Alien series movie. Like, you know, the fact that that little alien just pops out of someone's stomach. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
it's just, I mean, it's not quite like that, but
It's
it's
not
like,
quite as violent as that, but yeah, he just basically bursts forth
he
and
just like, and it's
yeah.
just like this random dead corpse just hanging out. But
But this one is important for the game itself because with certain missions, like there are like secret areas or restricted areas where you might need to body snatch a secret agent or a soldier or somebody to get into that area. If you need to get into a military base, you're not going to body snatch a hippie
no, not
because
at
you're
all.
not going to get in. So you need to body snatch a soldier so that you can walk into the base and then you can kill whoever you need to kill. But that's, the importance of that ability. Um Probably one of the ones that's most used in the game is free love. And that one causes basically everybody within the certain radius to start partying. It causes everybody to forget that they've seen you and allows you to escape. So if you're in a spot where you didn't body snatch anybody and now the police are shooting at you, you can do your free love ability and you basically see these like flowers all around and everybody's dancing and
It's like taking a trip on LSD. It's
basically
basically the best way to describe it. Like, you could literally watch it and you'll be like, yep, that's exactly what it looks like.
mind flash allows crypto to stun every human in the world for short duration of time. It does reset the alert meter. You do need the DNA, the aka brains, to recharge it. Um, Follow, protect. This causes any armed characters to follow you and basically protect you.
I think my favorite, because now I'm looking at it too, was the ability to forget. Because that one, it does help, especially when you're like needing to like not have a witness. Like if there's like a lot of witnesses around, you can just be like, no, not to like. Usually for me, it was always that like random woman that come around the corner. You're like, and then it like she starts running away, goes in like the telephone booth, and then you're like, not today.
Yeah. So this would be like forget if somebody sees crypto doing the body snatch, you can make somebody forget about it. Also, if you made somebody follow you or protect you, this will make them normal again. So they will stop following you or stop protecting you. Um, if you did free love and you also did forget on somebody, it would make them stop dancing.
Yeah, it basically just makes it go back to
Yeah.
what they were doing.
Um, PK allows you to move people, objects. If you use it to slam characters, it does do damage to them. Um, but it does have uses for certain missions and stuff. Transmogrify, I think I said that right. Transmogrify.
Yeah.
This one is useful for certain weapons. Um, because it allows you to destroy vehicles or objects by crushing them and converting them into ammo. Um, so the ammo that you use can be, taking out tanks or vehicles that they use for transporting troops or tanks or whatever.
I actually want to go back to PK for a second. So, because I also saw this again too, but the fact that a lot of these abilities, you know, for example, like if using PK, like when you're picking someone up and you're just like either smashing them against the building or a car, or even just like, you know what? Oh, there's a body of water. All right, have fun swimming. You know, like, you know, just randomly throw them in and you're just like, yeah, I don't care. I feel like you need to go for a swim today, or, you know, do other things. But I mean, a lot of these abilities, when you see them in action, you know, at first, like, it honestly looks stupid. Like, a lot of it really looks stupid, but it's funny as hell when you start playing it and then you're especially if you have like a second person playing with you,
Yeah.
and then you start doing other things with each other. Oh yeah, it's a fun time.
So one of the notes that I have on there, not trying to keep too much time on this, but like this ability was famous for its glitches. And when you used it and you slammed somebody up against the wall, oftentimes like the defeated person that you flung against the wall would sometimes get stuck and
Right,
they would like flail or they would just be kind of stuck there on the wall.
right, and you really you just say, you know what? All
You know
right,
what?
they call it a
Okay,
day.
whatever. Um, so moving on, scan. This is when you're using body snatch. You can use it to read minds, and most of the thoughts are pretty funny. Some are, when you're doing a certain mission, um, you need to kind of like find where this person is. So like you're walking around and you need to scan people's minds to find out like where the mayor is located.
Right, so you're gathering intel.
Where is this party, that I need to go to? And,
Right.
people are like, man, that party over there is really killer, and they're like, just, you're reading the minds from people. And that's where it's helpful. Um, so this one, unlike the first game, like you can only read the minds when you're in a human disguise.
Yes, because you can't really. Let's. The only way you can probably read their minds, if I'm not mistaken, couldn't you do it if they were like dancing or if like they were protecting or something like that?
This says you can only do it when you actually are in the body snatch.
Oh well, see that's
Yeah.
the flaw. Like I feel like you should be able to do it if like they're dancing or if they're you know doing something else. Like I don't know. I don't think you should only be a
Yeah.
human doing it, but
So the last one is Gene Blender, which we've kind of already touched on. This allows crypto to abduct humans, mix the DNA, and helping unlock certain upgrades for like PK or body snatching. Um, it helps unlock certain like art galleries,
yeah, a little bonus content really
bonus
is.
content
Yeah.
stuff. But as far as like abilities, that's it. I mean, kind of the same thing with the first game. Like it's really just oddball humor. Um, this game really just brings it over the top with the fact that, and I'll say it, the fact that he has genitalia in this game, it really brings that brings that narrative like way over the top because like his whole thing is he wants to make sure that he can move his race forward.
Right. And so when he's going after Natasha this entire time, when she keeps saying, "No, I don't want you," this and that, I mean, he's just, it's like a passive aggressive, like what he's doing half the time, if I'm not mistaken. But like,
And it's like an annoyance for him. Like I have this mission. Like I just want to do this. Like
I mean, listen, if you can't connect the dots, I mean, clearly this guy's just wanting some and he's just not getting it from her. So that's just the best way to put it. And I mean, it's just funny when you watch the whole story. And I mean, even at the end, like she moves on, he moves on, and you're just like, well, that's a worst romance story I've ever seen one. But I mean,
but the core component to the game, like it's really with this one, the just the like just wanton destruction that you can do in this game, whether you're running around as crypto or you're flying around in the saucer, is just so enjoyable.
and like I've mentioned already, like it was a mind numbing game. So if you like, and I will mention this, like if you played GTA, you know, it was like that, but early. I mean, well, granted, I mean, I understand GTA has been around for a little while, but um, you know, to me is more like if you like that sci-fi, like random
It's very, I mean,
different
it's
stuff.
more on a lighthearted side. Like,
Well, yeah, I'm not
yeah,
saying it's
it's
as bad as GTA, but
yeah,
it's like, you know, you basically just do whatever you want. You just kind of, you know, again, as the literally the title says in the game, and I mean, when the guy created the game, like that's really what it was, and I mean, that's pretty much
And
straight to the point. But
say what you will about the story, but it's like if you're really gonna complain about the story, I don't think really the either game really has
no, there's not like a
anything to
real
anything to do really with this. Like you're gonna get a really cohesive story out of these games. I think
no.
really the whole point of these games, and right now they're classic games. Um, they're both remade, so you can actually buy remastered versions of these games now.
Right, instead of playing the original like PS2 or Xbox, when it
Which
came out on, which I know you did play the was
I
it the
have the original ones on my PS4. The original PS2 versions I have on my PS4.
oh, okay, because
But
like
they do have, Destroy All Humans, and they have Destroy All Humans 2, which is called Reprobed. Just
just
Easter
wanted to
egg there.
reemphasize that, yeah.
Um they do have remastered ones for, PS4, PS5.
You know, eh, so games like this, I feel like there's definitely some other games that, you know, in my opinion, that need to also have like a remastered edition, like they did with these games, right? Because I feel like we don't really give them enough justice, because like at the time when you're first playing them, like, oh, this is amazing, the graphics are great, all this other stuff, but like, I really think they like PlayStation and really Xbox, like they need to do a better job of remastering good games. Like, I mean, I'm not saying this wasn't a good game. It was just more of you know, a classic
It was
game
just
that,
fun.
well, it was just, like I said, it was mind numbing.
Yeah,
It's,
it was
you're
fun.
just
Just
doing whatever you
you
really,
could play, for a half hour and just not do any story missions, not do nothing,
right. And just go
but
in,
just destroy buildings and cars and pick up people and fling them and abduct people and
and probe them if you want, but
probe them and, disintegrate them and crush cars, you know, turn people to ashy skeletons. Like
let them fall. Yeah.
you could run around and do anything that you want to do in this game, and there's not enough. I mean, there's really not another game that you could realistically do that. I mean, yeah, you can kind of do that in GTA
I mean, to a degree,
to
but
a
not as
degree, but not to a degree like this, where in GTA you can't destroy buildings.
no. And I mean, well, I mean, no. Like, you're right. You can't really destroy buildings, but
These ones, like you fly around in your saucer and you fire your death ray on a building, that sucker is going down. Like you can destroy entire neighborhoods.
I mean, I just know like games like this. I mean, we as a society or as the gaming culture. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are definitely great games with great stories, but then there's just some games that I wish that you would think that they'd want to make like here and there that have stories that are not really even a real good story, but just like games where you could just jump in and you could just do whatever you want and not have to worry about like playing a story, playing all the way through, knowing what's going on, that kind of stuff. But
Now, if they did a brand new game that was more like GTA for Destroy All Humans, that would be something.
if you're gonna do something like that, then make it more modern day. Like literally go
Well,
into
yeah, I mean,
modern day and
obviously
then do
more
it.
modern day, but if you had more of that, like big map, open world, you can travel from one point to the other.
Well,
No, no, none of this like cutscene from going from San Fran to this place. Like
well,
you could do pretty much anything that you want. I'd easily just play for like 2 hours, just destroying everything.
yeah, and you wouldn't have to play a story. You wouldn't have to do anything. You just
Nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or it'd be really funny if you did like GTA at like San Andreas like that, like that style of like kind of like the cutscene, like but like do that with like crypto, but like have a big map like that. I mean, I don't know why, but I don't. I think it'd be kind of interesting to see how like that style of gameplay would be.
And I can almost see them doing like an online multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing.
That would be complete, like almost Far Cry-ish.
Y- Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me started. I mean, that's another episode later on, but
Yeah,
I mean, I think we covered this, man.
yeah. I think that's pretty much it.
Since we're concluding this, again, guys, we appreciate everything that you guys do, and we want to basically just tell you guys that keep it up, keep doing what you've been doing. Keep sharing this, keep liking us. Keep trying to unite the geek community, right? I mean, we're really trying to make sure you guys understand that you're not alone in this fight, right? Because we've talked about it in the bullying episode. There's more than there's more of us than there are of them, right? And so at the end of the day, geek culture does not necessarily define, just video games, music, you know, movies, whatever, right? I mean, it's anything. You can be a geek on anything. So, if people say that you're not, a geek basically based off of what I just said, then they're wrong. Because you can be a geek on, you know, guns. You can be a geek on photography. You can, be a geek on playing sports. I mean, there's so many things you can do. There's the endless possibilities. So don't ever think that you're not a geek. You're a geek in your own way. But social media, right? So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Uh, well, I'm going to mention it now. So on YouTube, just as of recently, we are starting to upload some geeky shorts. And the reason why is because if we start making more of them, unfortunately, the website can't hold all of them. So we've decided to make it so that way, if you wanted to look up our geeky shorts moving forward, there's a YouTube page. It should be under Geeks from the Multiverse or GFTM 23 if you looked it up. And you'll be able to find that content there. So again, it just gives you kind of like a nice little tidbit of what we do for each episode, kind of gives you an idea of what, who we are and, different little skits that we can, come up with from time to time. But you got anything else, man? Because I was going to ask.
No, I think that's it, bud.
You think that's it? I
I think
mean,
that's it.
I don't know about you. I feel like I need to go to bed. That's what I feel like. Okay. Well, as always,
Stay geeky.